I'm in Hollywood, where the crowds have gathered for a star-studded premiere of a different kind. Sprint's throwing a launch party for their highly anticipated wonder phone, the Palm Pre, and we're crashing. Palm Pre, we've heard about it, we've read about it, we've salivated over it. What does it do?
Everyone's going to compare it to the iPhone, and what everyone would immediately say, well, it fits better in your hand and has a nice little QWERTY keyboard. And there's several other features this does that the iPhone doesn't do. You can, for example, open up multiple applications. You could have your email, calendar, and a web browser all open at the same time, and you can carousel them through the nice touchscreen. The good news is it's going to be $200, and that's after a $100 rebate.
So, Rodney, what do you look for in a phone?
Something that can do everything, something like a woman. And I won't carry a man purse, okay? So I need one thing that I can carry that's going to have everything in it.
Do you think that this is finally the phone that'll bring iPhone to its knees?
I hope so, but I had an iPhone once. It's in the garbage now.
Wine, appetizers, and people glued to their cell phones. Is it sad that my parties are exactly the same?
Even the Palm Pre is Apple-related, slightly. Everybody wants to be part of the Apple chain.
They do. Well, former Apple designers actually fled Cupertino. I don't know if they fled. I don't know if it was like screaming and
maybe
like,
there was a fire
they
getting it
packed up
out.
their water and whatnot. But they went to Cupertino to start Palm, and they finally unveiled what they consider to be their masterpiece. So it's time to review the Palm Pre. That's cell phone talking music.
That is. Okay, so Palm Pre's design is unique, though I gotta say, it's a little bulky as compared to some other flagship phones, but here it is right here. It is thicker than the iPhone, and we're gonna be comparing a lot to the iPhone because this is what they're doing. They're trying to compete with the iPhone.
Right.
It is still manageable, obviously. It's not as tall as the G1, Storm, or iPhone. Also, it's lightweight, which is actually, I'll say, it's the same weight as the iPhone. So this device does fit comfortably in your pocket. But how do you think it feels? Do you like the way it feels?
You know, when it's slid open, I'm not a huge fan, but it's not that bad. When it's closed, especially, the form factor of this guy, it fits nicely.
What do you think about the fact that it curves
and
then these things like are so sharp?
Yeah, well, some people have been cutting cheese with these online, like literally slicing through cheese with the sharp edge here.
It's so sharp right
But I don't
here.
think you're ever really going to be talking on it with the keyboard out, so I don't think that's as big of a deal. But as for the keyboard, though, my problem with it is that I think it's just a little too small right now. The keys are not widely spaced, and they sort of bump up against the edge of the phone. And they're also, they're kind of rubbery, a little sticky. Now, when I was typing on it...
your hands look massive.
Those are not my hands. Those are my stunt hands. I would never risk my hands for B-roll. The typing on it, I was worried that it was going to be super inaccurate. It's actually surprisingly good, but there's very little word completion. It doesn't do...
it doesn't do the...
Like if you type LETS, it doesn't give you that apostrophe. Like it doesn't help out with stuff like that, which would be nice because we're used to that on other phones by now. But all around, amazing looking device. It actually does look very sharp.
All right, now the screen is smaller than we'd like. It's only about 3.1 inches across, but it does have the same resolution as an iPhone, 320 by 480. Now the real question here is the touch interface. Do you think it's as good as the iPhone?
And for once, the answer is actually yes, it is. Tapping and swiping is super responsive. Now, there's no haptic feedback, which, I mean, some people are a fan of that, some aren't, whatever.
I'm a fan of it. I like to know what I'm touching.
Well, it's not there. But there is this water ripple effect that lets you know where you touch. The problem with that is that it does it regardless of whether or not your touch actually triggered anything on the phone. So you could be on a website tapping an image thinking it's a link, and it'll give you the water ripple, but it won't actually do anything.
So then how do you know if you've hit the right thing?
You kind of don't. So it's a little inconsistent at times, but at least it does give you some feedback. Now, multi-touch, I got to say, works perfectly, and that was a surprise. Until now, the iPhone was the only device that did that well. So now there's a reason to get multiple fingers on your little cell phone there. And there's also the gesture area below the screen, and that can get you, well, shortcuts for like switching to applications or going back, navigating back through menus and whatnot. But overall, the experience is easily as good as the G1 or the iPhone, but it's going to take some getting used to.
Yeah. Now, is Palm's Web OS operating system, correction, let me just say, I know OS means operating system, but apparently the Palm likes to say Web OS operating system. It's a little redundant, but that's what they insist on us saying. Does it show us as much promise as the Android or the iPhone?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe even more. I mean, the biggest advancement is multitasking.
Maybe even more?
Yeah, because each app actually runs in its own card, as you can see here, and you can run a bunch of cards at once. So, as you can see, it's not like you have to close one application to go to another. You can have your YouTube player open while your email's open, while you're playing a game, while your Twitter client is there, and that's all running at the same time, which the iPhone does not do. And it actually works well. Now, there's a little lag when you're launching an application or when you navigate, when you switch from application to application. But the fact that they're all running in real time in the background is really impressive, especially you could be watching a video on YouTube and if you get a text message, it'll pop up in the bottom and let you know. And you don't have to exit that application. It's just sort of there.
Yeah.
It presents itself. So that's really promising.
All right, now it's got the usual laundry list of features: Wi-Fi, camera, App Store. The App Store doesn't have as many apps as the iPhone does,
Right.
but do they all work like we want them to?
Yeah, for the most part they do. Web browsing is smooth, and the EVDO revision A, the connection's actually faster than the iPhone 3G. I think Safari still beats out the browser on this phone. There are some issues with it. We'll talk about that in a second. The music player works well. The pre-syncs to your computer through iTunes, just like an iPod does. 3-megapixel camera actually has a flash. Apple, pay attention, and takes excellent photos.
That's Danny.
Yeah.
Hey, Danny.
So now the App Store is great, but like you said, they only have 19 apps, and Palm has yet to release an SDK, and they haven't even announced a release date for that, which they really need to do.
We can only use those, and we can't just go off and create our own.
Yeah, there's
apps.
going to be apps created by certain people, but not like you see with the iTunes Store or the App Store yet. No video, no expandable memory. You only get 8 gigs on the device.
And Apple announced 32 gigs coming up for the iPhone, so that's a big difference. 8, 32.
Yeah. And the browser doesn't support frames. I was on baddragon.com, and I could only get to the first 9 products. I couldn't even scroll to the good
there's
ones.
so many good products on there. You should have been able to see most of them.
Bunch of great products. So I was a little disappointed.
The Pre is $200 with the contract, and those contracts start at $70 a month for unlimited data. Do you think this is a good deal?
Yes, it is a good deal. It doesn't have the practically infinite number of apps like the iPhone or the community support of, say, the Android, but it does have the potential to be a major player. So keep in mind, when the iPhone originally came out, it was $600 for the contract.
But then again, nothing was like that before.
Right, absolutely. It was revolutionary.
The iPhone was the first thing, and so this is not exactly revolutionary.
Right. Had this come out before the iPhone, we would all be singing its praises.
But it didn't.
Now it has to compare.
So what's our final rating?
4 out of 5. This is one of the best phones we've seen, and it's a stronger showing than Android had with its first device. So we are excited to see what Palm does next.
But the big question,
yes.
Would you want the iPhone over this or this over the iPhone?
Right now, I'm taking the iPhone right now. I mean,
because the thing is, if you're going to make something to compete with the iPhone, you got to make it compete with the iPhone.
Well, it comes down to, I think, what carrier you're on. And so I want to add AT&T. You got to take the launch of the Pre as a warning shot, because this phone is on the heels of the iPhone. So get mobile, MMS, get your multimedia messaging working going in the U.S. Tell us if you're going to support tethering, and improve your damn network already. It's really sloppy, AT&T. In fact, we're going to get into the future of AT&T and the iPhone tomorrow in the loop, because I got some words for them.
Oh, but
It's actually pretty much just that, but I'm going to stretch it to 5 minutes. It's going to be great.
And you're going to hold on to your iPhone.
I am.